How's everybody doing? You'll have to forgive the poor lighting in here, but I had a couple of requests as to how would I make a lunch, and now that I have some meat, I'm going to show you how I prepare my lunch. It's actually very simple. In order to do it, I'm going to need a few supplies: cutting board, a pot. Now before I do that, I'm going to check on my yogurt culture, see how it's doing. All right, open it up. It still has a little bit of a sweet smell to it, but it is somewhat getting there. The oven has a small pilot light in it, which maintains the temperature around 100 degrees. So this is going to be the perfect yogurt if it's left in the right amount of time. If you leave it in there too long, it gets very chunky. So that's not something we want to do. All right, so let me get the main ingredient. I'm going to head over to the refrigerator and I'm going to take this out. I bought this beef roast a couple days ago. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to cut a piece off of it, and then we're going to get the cooking started, and then later on I'll show you how I eat it. So we're going to need a knife, and we'll just touch this up with the steel just to see if it's sharp enough. That feels about right. So I'll take the meat over here to the cutting board, and we're going to cut somewhere around a couple pounds of meat maybe. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I'll estimate it. I don't worry about macros, things like calories. That's total nonsense. So we'll go ahead and cut this up. Okay. So it's about pretty good size. Seems a little light. Let me go ahead and get a scale. We'll weigh this. All right. Oh, that's a little less than 2 pounds. It's actually 29 ounces. So, well, but the good thing is there's not a lot of fat, but there's a nice little fatty edge here that's going to be very flavorful. So now we're going to prepare the pot. Now, obviously, one way you could cook it would be in one of these griddles or skillets or whatever you want to call this thing. This one's actually an old, it's a Lodge. All my cookware is quite old. Most of it's at least 30 years old. And obviously I have my egg cooking pan in there as well. But we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to use the pot method. Now, how does that work? Well, to get a good flavor, all you have to do is put the meat in. But I'm going to, for you vegan fans out there, I'm going to add something that is vegan related. If I can find one. Ah, here we go. I got a few onions from the yard. I'm going to add this, an onion. So we're going to put a little bit of water in the pan. Turn the fire on. There we go. Put the steak in the water. Okay. I want to put this back in the refrigerator. We don't want it to become bad. So I'm going to cut the rest of this up soon. Probably freeze some of it, make some the ground meat. We'll see. But that's actually a pretty nice cut. Again, it was a very good deal. It was $2.88 a pound. Now, it would be nice if I was like all the carnivore people out there that they either are rich or they get sponsorships where they can have delicious grass-fed quality meat, but I don't have that option. So I went to the Cuban Winn-Dixie and I got, I bought the shoulder. It's about $2.88 a pound, which is fine. Okay. So let's add the vegan ingredient. Now, as you know, I don't eat roots, stems, seeds, or leaves. And this would be part of a root. So why in the world would I eat this? Well, I don't. What I do is I cut the onion up in pieces and I put it in the water. Then what I do, I eat the meat and I get rid of the water. Yesterday, I made the same meal. But one thing that I've been told many times is that when you boil the meat, you're going to lose a lot of the fat. So what I did, I took the water that was left over with the onions, and you can see the amount of fat that's left over is negligible. There's maybe a few little bits and pieces. So the amount of fat is very, very small. This looks like all that's there. Just that much fat is what was left over. So cooking it this way, I'm actually losing very little of anything. All right, let's go ahead and prepare the onion. Now again, if you're a strict carnivore, you don't want to do this. But then again, if you're the typical carnivore influencer that you'll find on YouTube, most likely you're going to be eating ribeye steaks cooked on some fancy grill that nobody can afford, not cooked in a pot or from a barbecue that was picked from the side of the road, which is what I have. My grill was picked up, who knows when. You're probably thinking to yourself, how come Rick's got a tie and a shirt? Well, I was actually in a formal setting earlier, which is not that common for me. And I was talking to somebody I know. He was actually asking me about my diet. I guess he had seen some of my videos that I've been interviewed, and he said, you know what? You really need to make some videos. I said, yeah, but I have an old house, I have terrible lighting, and people say that I look unhealthy. Well, okay, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and make the video anyway. I don't care. So we're going to peel the onion. We're going to slice it up. That's pretty easy to do. All right. Then we're going to take these pieces that we sliced up and we're going to put them in the water. Okay. There we go. All right. The cooking is now complete. Well, actually, the cooking has just started. The preparation is complete. So what we're going to do, just spread the onion out in there. Now, if I was having someone over, probably add some salt, which, problem is my salt, I made it myself in a blender from condensed salt, so it gets stuck. So a lot of times you have to kind of, I have one of those grinders, but I seem to have lost it. Now the salt won't come out. So who cares? We don't need salt. And by the way, this cabinet, look at all this crap that's in there. When my mother was alive, I had to add all these spices. Some of this stuff is pretty old. If I cook something for my mom and I didn't spice it, I never hear the end of it. Some of this stuff is extremely old. Look at this. Black pepper, glass container. I still have some of those tin containers for spices. I need to clean this up. But a lot of times what I use are these little grinders, and then you can put a chunk of salt in there and just rotate it and grind it up. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay. Well, again, the fire is on. We're going to have to leave this in here. It's probably going to be about 25 minutes, which is typically what I cook it. And what I'm going to do, so I don't get my good clothes all dirty, I'm going to go ahead and change. And as you can see, it didn't do any damage. It's a very easy way to cook. And before I go, just to make sure there's no cockroaches around hiding, because those things are huge. They love to fly. We'll go ahead and wash off the cutting board, and we'll set it up where it can dry. We'll We'll wash off the knife. Put it back in the holder. All right. Wipe off the top of the scale. Okay. We'll put that back where it belongs. Put the lid on it. Put the extra lid away.